So for unfinished business, the first item we have is status of the investigation. Dr. Jay, I think you wanted to go first here.
Yes, thank you. Excuse me. I appreciate all that has been done by the committee thus far to review the matter involving the accusations against Mr. Thomas. I also appreciate the effort that went into their providing a statement and timeline to the community. At this point, I feel it's important that I also address the issue with you. I am not only the superintendent at North Kingstown, I am also a member of this community and a parent of 2 North Kingstown High School graduates. I completely understand how the news you have received about this matter is troubling. I feel the same. When I first heard these claims, I was shocked and knew I needed to respond. I also understand that this community is justifiably concerned that I handled the information I received appropriately once I learned of these matters. To that end, I want to share with you my account of the 2 occasions when I was contacted regarding Mr. Thomas and body fat testing. The first was in the fall of 2018. I received very limited information from a former student who had attended from 2006 through 2008. The former student knew me separately from the district, but knew that I was the superintendent. On an occasion when we were together for other purposes, he mentioned to me that now that he was 10 years past graduation, he was still confused as to why Mr. Thomas would do body fat testing so far away from the locker room area. He was concerned about being alone for the test. He described the program and told me that he was either in a towel or gym shorts for the test. The individual said he was not naked during the test but found the test unusual. Aside from feeling uncomfortable, the individual did not allege any inappropriate contact occurred at that time. I told him I also had concerns about what he told me and that I would address the issue with Mr. Thomas. Once I started asking questions, he clearly felt uncomfortable about talking in the first place. He refused to offer anything else and requested to remain anonymous. When I asked if there was anyone else I could talk to, he declined to do so. It was clear to me that this was not appropriate. I immediately reviewed all of the information provided to me with our school department attorney, and I set up a meeting with Mr. Thomas, Dr. Mansieri, then his principal, athletic director Dick Fossa, and a union representative. In that meeting, Mr. Thomas acknowledged that he had conducted body mass and body fat tests going back to the late 1990s, even in the old high school building. He stated that he has often conducted these tests as a favor to students, that there was widespread knowledge of him doing so, and that once he had an office in the new high school, he used the office in order to more easily enter data into his computer. When I asked him, he stated unequivocally that no one had ever been naked in front of him in one of these sessions. Based on information from that meeting and unaware of any other allegation of any kind in all the time that I knew Mr. Thomas, I responded in what I felt was the most responsible way. I immediately directed Mr. Thomas never to meet with any student alone in his office. I directed Mr. Fossa that if more BFI or BMI testing were to be done, it would be using a more modern machine similar to a scale, done publicly in a locker room with 2 adults present, and at no time would students be naked in the process. I received notice from Mr. Fossa that he notified all coaches of the new protocol shortly thereafter. The next I heard of this issue was in February 2021. Dr. Mansieri, now the assistant superintendent, and I received word from a 2006 graduate of participating in the testing alone and naked with Mr. Thomas, and alleged that Mr. Thomas touched him inappropriately in at least one of those meetings. I immediately, within the hour, suspended Mr. Thomas and removed him from his coaching and teaching responsibilities. I also contacted the police and our attorney and school committee to initiate further action resulting in his termination. The police have been conducting their own investigation. At that time, the school department hired attorney Matt Oliverio to conduct an investigation as well. I also called my 2018 contact again to ask for more information and ask if he was willing to speak further or provide names of others who would. He never returned my call or spoke with attorney Oliverio. In both of these instances, I recognized the seriousness of the matter, and I acted appropriately and immediately in the best interests of students, past and present, with the information that I had at the time. If I had the 2021 information in 2018, I would have initiated the suspension and termination then. All of my actions are fully documented and done in consultation with our school department attorney. I have fully cooperated with the North Kingstown School Department in their investigation and with Attorney Oliverio in his, and will continue to do so. While I have denied requests for more information from parents and media based on employee disciplinary laws and at the advice of our school department attorney, I feel that at this point, with the information that is now in the public realm, I can speak more freely and feel it is important to clarify these important points. That's why I'm speaking tonight. I also want you to know that I feel it is important that our investigation continue to the fullest extent possible. I believe it's important that our community understands that so far, to my knowledge, the only persons who have come forward with any information to Attorney Oliverio were all students between 2000 and 2009. It is my understanding that Mr. Thomas's testing of students dates back to the 1990s. He said so himself. The two incidents I responded to were both more than a decade old and happened before I worked for the school department. I expect that my actions in responding to this will continue to be reviewed, but I also feel it is important that any further investigation needs to include the several former superintendents, principals, athletic directors, and students from all of those years. It is important that we learn as much as we can, particularly about how, under what conditions the testing was initiated and authorized in the first place, and I encourage anyone with relevant information to come forward to the school department and/or to the police. I love the North Kingstown community and have given my heart and soul to this great school department in my 10 years as superintendent. I do this work because I care about our children. I want our students to have a school experience where they know they are safe and they know they can trust in adults who oversee their education. And I am dedicated to doing whatever needs to be done to make sure we support our students, past or present, to process and to heal, and to make sure that incidents like this never occur again. Thank you very much.
So do any members of the school committee have anything they'd like to add? Yep, sorry. Ms. Lima?
I hadn't intended on speaking because I didn't know that we were going to speak, but I want to thank Dr. Auger for sharing that statement. I think it's important that the community hears from him, and I appreciate him saying that. I wanted to touch on just a couple things because I heard tonight, do the right thing. And I just want people to understand that there is not a single solitary person sitting up here on this dais who does not want to do the right thing. And I think
Ladies and gentlemen, could you please not interrupt the speakers? Thank you.
Dr. Auger touched upon the fact that he hasn't been able to speak until now because of legal constraints. You know, everybody understands the need to share information in this situation, but it's also important to understand that there are certain things that we're prohibited about talking about. Now that there are a lot of things that are out in the press, it's easier to say a little bit more. We have wanted to say more up until this point, and we haven't been able to, and I think it's good that you've been able to hear what he's had to say. None of us have been sleeping at night, not just about this, but about everything. We take our positions very seriously, and there is nothing that any of us want more than
Ladies
to
and
get
gentlemen,
to the bottom.
if you continue to interrupt, we'll have to ask you to leave. So please do not interrupt the speakers.
We all want to find out what happened, and it is our hope that by reopening this investigation, we will find out exactly, you know, what balls may have been dropped and when. And, you know, somebody brought up tonight a change in reporting structure within the athletic department, and I think that is very important, and I think that is something that should be addressed moving forward. And I appreciate the community's patience. I appreciate those who understand that this is not as cut and dried as it seems, and just know that, you know, we all are community members. We all are parents. We understand that this is a difficult situation, and, you know, we take this very seriously. And we are treating it, with the respect and attention that it deserves, and we appreciate the patience to make sure that we do get to do this right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything like that? I just want to say a couple things. Most importantly, I speak for each and every one of us when I say that my heart goes out to every member of the North Kingstown community who's been impacted by this. A breach of trust of this magnitude brings up many types of emotions, and they're all of them valid responses. I want to say something that's not on what I put down, and it's really important. I understand that people are looking for accountability. People are asking people to resign. People are asking us to fire people. We are conducting, and we began and are continuing to conduct, an independent investigation that is being conducted by an attorney that has nothing to do with the North Kingstown School Committee or School Department. That individual is attempting to gather information. To date, there is nothing that I have seen with respect to that investigation that contradicts the statement that you heard from Dr. Auger this evening with respect to the chronology of events and what we know and what we knew and what people knew. So what we have heard in the media is different than that, and we are very aware of that fact, which is why it is vitally important that anyone who has information that they can add, reach out to our independent investigator. The school committee can only act upon information that we have and that we can work with. We can't read a newspaper article and fire somebody. We can't, and we won't. However, and I'm going to look at Dr. Auger and say something that I have said to him, and I'm going to put you on the spot here. He has made some factual assertions about what he did and what he did and when he did it. And if I find evidence that is credible that shows that that is not true, I would be holding signs that say the same thing that you folks do. To date, we do not have that information. So, anyone who has that information needs to contact Attorney Matthew Oliverio, who is conducting our investigation, and move from there. So, it's extraordinarily important. Now, the school committee cannot accurately determine what went wrong and what needs to change if individuals who have relevant information won't share it. It's extremely important. That's what we need to know. We completely agree that something went wrong. Obviously, something went wrong. We need to figure out why and how we can make sure it never happens again. And I think we are all on the same page on that. So I can only say the same thing over and over again. Those of you who might know someone who has relevant information needs to reach out to our investigator, the police department. It needs to get to us because we cannot do anything with what we do not know. That's what I have to say. Thank you. Anyone else? If not, we'll move on.